Hello, it's Professor Muldrow again, and I'm going to show you how to use parameters in methods in Java. A parameter is data that you want to send to a method when you call it so that data can be used for something specific. Now, one example of a method with a parameter is this line method right here. Okay? Notice we have public static void line. And in the parentheses, we've declared an integer parameter, and I've given it the name how many. Now, you can give the parameter any name you want. It can be virtually any type you want it to be. And what I'm doing with this parameter is it's used here in the condition of this for loop. I have a for loop going from 1 to whatever the value of how many is, and we'll use that to print out a line of stars. Now, in addition, when you call a method that has a parameter, you do that here. So right here, I'm calling the line method, and I'm sending it a 6. So this 6 gets sent to the how many parameter. So how many takes on the value 6, since that's in the parentheses, and it will draw this first line of 6 stars. Similarly, the next line down says we're calling the line method again, but we're sending it a value of 10. So in that case, the 10 gets sent to how many, and that results in this line of 10 stars being drawn here. Now, you're allowed to have as many parameters as you want in a method. Case in point, here is another method named box, where we're going to draw a box with rows and columns. We have two parameters, one named rows, the other named cols. As you can see, the rows parameter goes right here into this outside for loop, and the cols parameter goes to this inside for loop. So we're going to use that to draw boxes. Here in main, we call the box with a first parameter of 3 and a second parameter of 10. So the 3 will get sent to the rows parameter, and the 10 will get sent to the cols parameter. Parameters are always used in order. First parameter goes to the first one declared. Second parameter goes to the second one declared. And when that program is run, here's the result. A box that has 3 rows and 10 columns with a gap in between. Now, it is also possible to create a method with the same name. This is a technique in programming known as overloading. Overloading means you create two methods that have the same name but different parameter lists. Here's our previous box method, which has 2 parameters passed to it. But here is a second box method that has no parameters passed to it. As you can see, there's nothing in the parentheses here. So this box method is being called here in main. The one with no parameters is called right there. The one with parameters, another example of it, is being called here. So if you look at the one in green, I've got 2 variables named rows and cols defined here. Rows is 4, cols is 8. But when I call the box method with parameters, I put the cols variable first and the rows variable second. So that means cols, which has a value of 8, in this case actually gets passed to the rows parameter, and rows, which has a value of 4, the 4 actually goes there. And so you get this output that has 8 rows and 4 columns. So you don't always go by the name of a variable. You must go by the value of a variable that's being sent to a method by way of a parameter. Now, on the other hand, for the second box method, which has no parameters, nothing is being passed to it. So here we get this output. that has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns. I'm sorry, 8 rows. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 columns. So what's generated from the box method with no parameters is a box with 8 rows and 11 columns, because we use those numbers here in the box method with no parameters. If you have any more questions, please send me an email at kmuldrow@lbcc.edu.